if you want, my special guests. You guys might know them around. You've seen them in the stream before. You may have even had the pleasure or displeasure of playing a couple games with them. But we have two very cool players here. It is we have Style on them. 1, 2, 3. You guys know him. And we have Grainy Man, LOL. Styles' name is Josh. Grainy Man's name is Dan. Look them up. Google them. Stalk them. All right. But they are, they have, I've tagged them on Twitter as well. And they're just cool guys. And they play a lot of Jinx. And we're going to pick their brains today. And so I'm super excited to have them in this first ever episode of Teach a Dad series. And hopefully I'll learn something. I told them that if I don't get Challenger playing this champion, then I'm going to ask for my money back. Then I realized I'm not paying them anything. So win-win situation all around. Guys, let's give a round of applause. If you can, let's get some hype for Josh and Dan. Thank you so much for being on the show. Glad to have you guys. So let's start off with Dan real quickly. Why don't you give us a brief history of your league career, how you got into it, and a brief history of your champion, Jinx. How did you get to know her? What made you like her, and why are you still playing her? So we'll start off with Dan. Open it up to you, my friend. Hello.
Hmm. So like I think I found out Jinx like in towards like the end of season 3,
Mm-hmm.
which is like 2013. I think a friend introduced me to Jinx, and then like I started playing Jinx, and I was like, oh, she's really fun. Like, let me just main Jinx.
So I want to clarify. You said she was really fun. It had nothing to do with her looks, was it? Real
No,
story is that Dan thought that the champion was hot, and he picked her up immediately. Just
no.
kidding.
um, no, it was more like I guess it was her kit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
and then
about the kit though? Was it like, I don't know? Did
like
you
her
just
passive is like really OP.
That's
So I
true.
found it like because like you just like go really fast and then you just
Gotcha.
destroy
So
them.
when did you start playing her? Right when she was released?
Um, yeah, pretty much after the release, and then I
Okay.
mained her ever since on season when I made a transition to an AD carry main. I just like mained Jinx.
Oh, okay. And while Dan's talking, let me just pull up. This is his op.gg. You can tell he's played a lot of Jinx games. I think starting from season 4. You can see Jinx was his most played champion. Season 5, Jinx played most played champion. Season 7, season 8. Season 8 was also, so Jinx has by far been your most played champion since season 4. That's a lot of Jinx games, man. So we're definitely going to be able to tap into some of the experience that he's had, with this champion. So I'm interested to get to know that. What about you, Josh? Let me know the same question to you, man. What's your history with Jinx? How did you stumble upon her, and
Um,
what made you fall in love with her?
I think well, before no one wanted to play AD carry, so
Mm.
that's how I got into AD carry. I mean, people still don't want to play AD carry, and now it's even less than what it used to be.
Oh yeah.
But I play Jinx just because of so before her Q was different. So her
Hmm.
Q gave her attack speed instead of her passive, right? So
Oh, okay.
you used to get attack speed on your Q, but you didn't get the 2.5. It can go over 2.5, right, on Jinx.
Mm.
And before it didn't do that. So that's when Jinx, I think, was, I wouldn't say stronger, but she was different.
Mm-hmm.
She spiked a lot earlier. So you used to get like BF sword into Runans and you would already be strong. But now
Oh wow.
you need like the 3 items. You need Storm Razor, IE, and Runans.
So
I
was
think to
that
be
did
like
that have any to do with the items, or any like overall meta changes, or was it just because of her champion kit, like
it
how
was
they
just
nerfed and
changes to
balanced her?
all crit 80 carries.
Okay. And she's
So
definitely one of
before
those.
IE used to be different. IE used to be a lot different
Okay.
in comparison.
Hey,
but
look at this.
now
I'm
it's
pulling up my season 5, and I actually played Jinx. That was my most played champion. Season 5, Jinx. Definitely not as much as you guys. I did have a positive win rate, but she was a champ that I really liked for some of those reasons that you guys mentioned. But what would you say, I guess, playing her over the years, what would you say was her strongest season, weakest season, and where do you think she stands now as far as the lineup of ADCs? Let's start with you, Dan.
Um, so for me, I think the Jinx weakest point was back in season 6, like
Mm,
when Jinx was like, I believe Jinx got nerfed that season, so
okay.
I played like kind of poorly on Jinx.
Okay.
I
Okay.
still like played her, and everyone was telling me like that Jinx is really bad. I was like, I don't care. I'll just still play
It's the
Jinx.
love of the champion, man. That's a
Yeah,
true main right there. I like
and
it.
then I think Jinx was I mean like she's never been like really that weak like throughout like the patches.
Yep.
So like she was like viable in solo queue,
Hmm.
which was like why I main Jinx or still play Jinx at this
Yep.
even at this time. So yeah.
Okay. So how do you think she fares now, I guess, in today's meta of ADCs and just the meta overall? Do you think she's still a good champ to pick up in solo queues? Like, should somebody be able, or should they pick her up if they're thinking of trying to main champion?
Absolutely. Like I think
Okay.
yeah, Jinx is like really like she's really like a good hyper carry late game. So like mid to late
Gotcha.
game, like she's really strong. So
Okay. Cool. All right. Same question to you, Josh. When do you think she was at her lowest, her strongest, and what do you think of her now?
um, so basically I didn't play her when she came out. I only
Okay.
played her like season 5, season 6,
Okay.
and um, what's it called? I actually had a really good win rate in on Jinx in season 6, but
Yeah, I see that.
what
Mm-hmm.
was it? It was
It's
like
good.
60%. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
like above 60%,
Yep.
and then I had like 55% in like season 7. And I
Okay.
think I just liked her old passive and how
Okay.
how her old Q. So she used to run a lot faster on her
Mm.
passive in season 6, and then they
Yeah.
nerfed it to give both attack speed and run really fast. I think that's
Okay.
the only difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think she's that good. She's not like S tier in ADCs, but she's like
Mm-hmm.
definitely up there. I
Okay. So
think
you
the
still
change
think
they
she's pretty
just
good.
made is really good for Jinx.
Okay. And what
Her
change was
W
that?
change. So basically, now her W travels faster as you build more attack speed.
Oh, okay. So it's
And
harder
I
to
think the
dodge
damage is
then.
also, yeah.
Okay.
So she scales really well.
Awesome.
With she has like a really, she has a really, she has a lot of bad matchups. I think
Mm-hmm.
at least early, but
Okay.
later on she's a bit better.
All right, let's talk about that then. Since you talked about matchups, with the meta's kind of crazy now. Like you're seeing all sorts of things on the bot lane. So before it would just be how did she match up with other ADCs? But I guess in your experience, over the years and what you've seen playing her, what do you think are some definite like whenever you see this champ, you're like, oh, this is gonna be an easy, or a much easier game. Like who do you love to see on the other team bot lane when you're playing Jinx? Let me start with you, Josh.
So if I'm playing Jinx, then I think like Lucian is really bad.
Oh, okay.
Caitlyn is okay.
Uh huh.
Caitlyn is like you have to short Dorn's shield, and then you just need to farm,
Uh huh.
and it's just like a skill matchup. Ezreal is okay as long as you
Okay.
don't get poked out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, what are
Is there
the
a
other
champ where
matchups?
you're like, oh yeah, when you see them in champs, you're like, oh, I'm gonna crush this guy? Is there a champ that really has a hard time,
I don't
against her? And
think
I know.
Jinx has a lot of like easy matchups. It's
Uh
just
huh.
like there's like matchups where you always go even in lane and then you'll outskill them, or
I
there's
gotcha.
matchups um where they'll definitely like bully you early, but then
Mm,
as time goes on, uh once you get items, you'll become stronger. I
okay.
think one of the champs that outskills Jinx is probably like Vayne, Kog'Maw. Yeah, I think Vayne is a good lane early, but later
So I
on,
guess if you're playing like against those guys, I guess the goal then would be for you to to scale faster than them. because
Yeah,
obviously they're going to outscale you later on. So if you can kind of shut them down early, or at least get your items first, and kind of close out before
yeah.
they get to that point, that's kind of
I
what you want to
think
do.
I think with so you can almost never 1v1 on Jinx unless it's like, say if you're even in gold. So say
Mm-hmm.
you're like, it's like 20 minutes and you're both even CS, even gold, everything.
Yeah.
You won't be able to 1v1 Vayne. She'll just
Mm.
beat you straight up in a 1v1.
Okay.
And I think it's the same for like a lot of the ADCs. But
Okay.
in a team fight, I think Jinx does a lot more, especially once you get Runans.
Okay. All right, and we'll talk about builds in a little bit. Now, what about, let's flip that around, Josh, and I'll get to you, Dan, in a second. Same things, but Josh, real quickly, what is it? What is the matchup like when you see them in Champ Select? You're just like, oh crap, this is gonna be pretty difficult. And I know it depends too on the support who you have
Okay,
to
yeah.
kind of have that. But
Definitely.
let's just say, like, let's say, regardless of support, when you just see this ADC, you're just like, ah, crud, it's gonna be tough.
Okay, so for me, I think it's just me specifically. Lucian. Draven and Lucian are the two bad ones. Caitlyn is kind of bad, but you can like get away with
Right.
because her range is like insane early.
Okay.
Uh, Trist is kind of bad, but you out. So basically, Trist is like one of those weird matchups.
Uh huh.
So it's like, um, she outscales you, but if you play like the fight properly, you can win.
Yeah.
It's sort of because she gets more range than you, but you do more damage and like to the whole team, but she does more damage on one person. And I think that's like
Okay.
a lot of the champs.
Awesome. Okay. What about you? Let's pick your brain a little bit, Dan. Let's start first with matchups that you feel like are easier for you, or if like you see them, you're kind of like salivating because you're like, oh yeah, I can. And again, we know supports and play a big deal in the bot lane, so that can all alter it. But let's kind of assume that that's not a factor. What's a champ that you see and you're kind of like, okay, this should be an easy matchup or an easier matchup?
So like what Josh said, which I agree
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
completely. Like, cause like I have the same connection that Josh said earlier, like earlier too. I really hate versing against like Draven and like Lucian. Like
Mm-hmm.
those are like really bad matchups against Jinx,
Yeah.
especially in the early game.
Yep. Okay. What about flip side? Like, what are some champs that you're like, okay, this is going to be pretty easy? Again, not factoring a support matchup.
Um, Matches I would like find easy like anyone else could like if you know how to play the champion, then it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for you, it's like you don't really, that doesn't even really make a fact. But again, you guys are a little. I know, I understand that as you get higher in ranks, the matchups aren't as bad. I think it's just more of like what's going to be better early for you, or what's going to give you more of a headache or less of a headache. So I totally understand that. But Ling actually asked a really good question. So what's and I'll start with you this time, Dan. What are some supports that pair well with Jinx, or like what do you like having as your support as a Jinx player?
Hmm. I would say Lulu's okay with Jinx. Like anyone who could like protect Jinx, it should be fine. Also, like
Okay.
yeah, utility tank supports. I think mage supports it. It goes okay, but
Mm-hmm.
um,
Anna
because like
says Nami.
yeah,
Nami
yeah, I
all the
agree with
time.
Nami.
I
Yeah.
agree. Yep. So are you saying like people like Nami or Rocco or Janna or Lulu? Do you tend to like that? I mean, I'm sure maybe playstyle plays a little bit with it, but would you say those you prefer as opposed to something like an engaging support like Leona, Alistar, that thing, or a damage support? Do you like somebody like Zyra or Brand, or with Jinx? Is she just a champ that it doesn't really matter, or what do you have as a preference? I guess even.
So first, I preferred like tank supports over like utility supports and mage supports. But like I guess like starting like as time went on, I found that utility supports like go really good with Jinx also. So like I don't have a preference at the moment, but then it's more like more like if anyone can peel for Jinx, like just um it'll be good.
Keep her alive.
Keep
Keep
like
her alive is what you're saying.
yep.
Okay. All right. What about you, Josh? Same question. Supports that you like having with Jinx.
Yeah, I think it's like around what Dan said. Lulu's
Uh-huh.
good. Jan is good. I think peel supports are better than um what is it, damage supports. I don't mind tanks, like, but it have to be like specific tanks. I don't think like certain tanks are good. Like, I don't mind Leona. I don't really like Alistair because once he lands his combo,
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Okay.
Tom Kench is always good. I like
Really?
Tom Kench, yeah,
Okay.
because if they have something like, so basically, if you're gonna play against like Leona, Alistair, Braum, things like that,
Uh-huh.
Tom Kench is really good because as soon as Alistair combos, he just eats you.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. So I
It's
guess I'm from what it sounds like, she sounds like the champ that needs to be kept alive, basically. And
the
eh,
problem is she can't do much by herself.
gotcha. So she needs her support to be
Yeah,
good.
it's
Okay,
it's not
so
like a champ like Vayne or Draven, because
yeah, I
Draven
gotcha.
can just like 1v1 it pretty much anyone.
Okay,
Same with Vayne,
gotcha.
Tristana, all those
Okay.
champs.
And it seems like she sieges well too, turrets. I mean, because of her
Yeah,
so I guess with that. So
probably
what
one
you're
of the best.
probably one of
Not
the
the
best. Okay.
best. I would say Caitlyn
Right.
is better, but like
Uh-huh.
one of the best.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Well, that's pretty good. Good start to getting to know this champion a little bit better. Are there actually let me pull up the client now. I'd like to go through some runes with you guys, and obviously you guys know the extent of how I run my runes, and if you guys don't, I go to this thing called u.gg and I copy and paste, right? So and I'm sure maybe a lot of that. I mean, it's there for a reason. I know people. I mean, there's optimal runes, and we'll kind of talk about that. But at the same time, I'd like to see if you guys deviate from that sometimes. And I'll just start with a fresh page here. So I'll just how do you just delete this? Boom. Oops. Fix this. Create a new one. All right. So where do you recommend, or so what's the first tree that will start here? Let's start with Josh this time. Josh, where am I going? Precision.
Precision, yeah.
Okay. And then what's the first keystone here?
So you can change, like, I interchange between lethal tempo and fleet.
Lethal
Press
tempo and
attack's
fleet.
okay for early, but it doesn't really scale that well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So easy
And so
matchups
why
you
would
go,
you switch? Yeah. Let me know why.
yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So easy matchups you go lethal tempo.
Okay.
Um, and or if you're just trying to scale, then you go lethal tempo.
Uh
Fleet is
huh.
better for in lane.
Okay.
Um,
Because it gives you some sustain.
yeah.
Okay.
I also wouldn't go Hail of Blades because it only applies for the first few attacks.
Okay.
So
So
once
no Hail
you,
of Blades.
I mean, you can go Hail of Blades. I've tried it.
Okay.
And it's not that bad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially since it got buffed.
Okay.
Um, so I don't think it would be too bad in lane, but it would be good for like the first three attacks. So
Okay.
if you're against a bunch of squishies, Hail of Blades isn't bad. But if you're against tanks, I don't think Hail of Blades is good.
Okay. Even on late game, Cheerios saying that it's OP on late game Jinx. What do you think about
Even
that?
late game, it will be OP on squishies. It depends what champs they have again.
I guess with that, you're trying to blow up somebody because you said it's only the
Yeah.
first three attacks. Okay. So if you're against a tank, then it's going to be, or a bunch of tanks, it's going to be hard to even break through that, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and she'd
Okay.
suffer in lane
Okay. So
with Hail of
would you
Blades.
say fleet footwork would be more into something that has a kind of a lane advantage over you to just kind of stay safer?
Yeah, so I would say if you're against Lucian, Draven, anything like that,
Uh huh.
you go Fleet. Otherwise, you can go Lethal Tempo.
Okay. What about you, Dan? Do you have any? Do you agree? Disagree? Do you have other thoughts on this?
I agree for the most part.
Okay.
The only time I do change it like is like so basically if I have like healing since Fleet Footwork gives like healing, right?
Yeah.
I'll bring that like if I'm like what Josh said, like into a bad matchup and if I don't have like
Okay.
any healing supports.
Okay.
But I would bring like lethal tempo majority of the time since it's pretty busted right now.
Lethal tempo is
Yeah, lethal tempo. Like
good
if it's
attack
an easy
speed.
matchup, like what Josh said.
Okay.
And if I had like a healing support,
Okay.
or yeah, basically
So
that's it.
if I was to get in a game right now, would it? Do you always change it depending on who your matchup is? Is that what happened? Is that what you do, or do you kind of keep it at lethal tempo and then adjust accordingly?
I adjust accordingly.
Okay. All right. So I'll put it on. I guess the safer pick would be Fleet Footwork. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's a safer one.
Okay, because if you're teaching a dad here, and I
Even
suck, Turkey
if you
Chief says
have
I
like
go
a
hella
healing
blades because
support,
I'm a man. Okay. All right. Even if you have a healing support, go ahead.
if I have a healing support, I would still go lethal tempo like every matchup. Or not
Okay.
even like a healing support, but like a peeling support. So Janna, Lulu, anything. Like any of the
Okay.
enchanters.
Okay. So let me be a little gutsy here and take lethal tempo. All right. What do we go here for the second
I
second one
usually
here?
go what is it? Overheal. You can
Overheal.
go Triumph, but I don't really go Triumph. You never
Okay.
want presence of mind
Never
because
want. Okay.
your ult travels so slow.
Okay. That's true. Okay. So either overheal or triumph. What about you, Dan? Agree?
Mm,
What do you
yeah, I
usually
agree
go?
with Overheal and Triumph. But for me,
Okay.
like for my personal preference, I just bring Triumph.
Okay.
So like in case I get ignited or in lane, I just like
That's a
get
good
some HP
point.
back. Yeah,
It's true.
because most
Okay.
supports bring ignite.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
good.
it depends. I always go Overheal.
Okay.
Overheal. Okay. Well, I mean, those are good points of view because overheal,
I don't think it
obviously,
really
that's
matters that much.
yeah.
It
I think I
doesn't play
agree
a
with you.
huge deal.
Um.
The only
Okay.
reason I go Overheal instead of Triumph is because I don't build a lifesteal item.
Oh. So that definitely
So I
does.
don't have any lifesteal. So the only lifesteal I have is Doran's Blade, and then
That's
unless
it.
I build QSS, but that's again situational.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, those are good points to know because yeah, your build's gonna matter here with the run. See, these are things I don't think about. Just copy and paste, baby. Copy and paste. All right. Here we go. What about here? Alacrity. We going tenacity or
100%
bloodline?
alacrity.
100% alacrity.
I interchange between Alacrity and Bloodline because again I don't build a
Oh.
thing
The
item,
lives.
a
Ah,
lifesteal
okay.
item. So
Interesting. Okay, so yeah. So I guess that would make sense because I guess we'll get into builds in a little bit. You know what's
if
typical
you're new to Jinx, I would say just take Alacrity because it's
for the
hard to
life
get used
steal.
to like the slow
Oh, okay.
attack
Gotcha.
speed.
Yeah.
I think
Gotcha.
majority of players take Alacrity.
Alacrity. Yeah.
A lot of people take Alacrity. I just do it for safer laning phase because I know if I can get to late, I can win.
There
But
you
if I
go.
can't,
Yeah, and
then
what you're seeing here is, I think this is good to know too, is that like you are seeing people who have probably a little bit different play styles, but also maybe different build paths, and so you can see how it's affecting how they choose some of these runes, which
yeah. So
I think is great because these are things that I don't know if a lot of maybe a lot of players look at these things, but I for one am not one of those players, so this is good for me to learn. And again, that's why we're doing this. And what about here? Coup, cut down, or last stand?
that depends on who you're against. So if you're against tanks, you take the one that's good against tanks. If you're
Cut
against
down.
squishies, you take the one that's good against things. Yeah.
Okay. Low
I
health.
would
Deal
never
this.
take last stand because you're going to be
Oh
full
yeah,
HP most of the time.
yeah,
So if once you get engaged on, you'll either
yeah.
die or you'll think.
Okay. Well then let's say, I guess yeah. So you said if it's a lot of tanks, then we're gonna go cut down. But if it's
Yeah.
more squishies, then coup. All right, good to know that. All right, now secondary. Do you guys what are your opinions? Let's start with you, Dan. What do you usually go here for secondary?
Um, so majority of the time I would get sorcery,
Okay.
but like
Um.
there's some few instances where I might like go to like resolve if I want to go tanky, but not really.
Okay.
And
So
then
you're saying a
and then
majority of the time you go sorcery.
like 99% of the time, yeah,
Okay. What about you, Josh?
sorcery.
Yeah, I think I always go sorcery. I remember when
Okay.
resolve was OP, and then I
Uh.
went resolve. You can go bone plating if you're
Hmm.
new to this thing, but if you like trust your like damage and trust your positioning,
Yeah.
and once you get better, like you've played more games on Jinx, then you just take sorcery every time.
Okay. So let's go with sorcery then. All right. And what are we going here? Let's start. Dan, what do you usually take here?
so so since it changes to clarity or
Mm-hmm.
celerity, okay. I would run that and with Gathering Storm, or I would run if they have a lot of AP damage, like
Mm-hmm.
AP like champions, I would just go like Nullifying Orb with Gathering Storm. That's just
So
my that's just
so
my go.
gathering storm is the one that you usually keep in there so that
Yeah,
it helps your
because
scaling.
yeah, yeah,
And you said you would either exchange celerity for what was it, nullifying if it's a lot of
Nullifying
AP.
Orb. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. What about you, Josh?
So I either take celerity or I've been trying absolute focus. Absolute focus isn't too bad
Uh huh.
because you do more damage when you're high on health. Uh, that's like a super late game. Those are super late game runes.
Okay.
And I used to always run Celerity and Gathering Storm because Celerity used to be so good. Like it used to give you so much speed, and then stack it
Hmm.
with your passive. It's even
Wow.
better. You can take Nullifying. Yeah, I think in AP lanes I take Nullifying Orb.
Yeah, like let's say you know how the AP mages are sneaking into the bot lane now. You know, I
Yeah,
guess
I
nullifying or might help you in lane.
I think I've
But
played like a
would
bunch
you
of games.
say would you always say though that celerity is a must here because
It's
of
not a
the
must
movement speed?
anymore because they got
Okay.
nerfed,
Uh huh.
but it's good to have.
Okay.
Either that or absolute focus. But absolute focus, you have to have like a lot of patience because you
Okay.
have to like really wait for late game,
All right. So I'll keep
and
a
you have to be
celerity.
your position has to be really good, like your
Gotcha.
positioning.
Oh, why can't I name it Jinx?
You need to do
Wait.
your like underneath ones.
Wait. What the heck is this? Is this new?
That's what they added to like 2 patches ago, I think.
I didn't even know this. What the heck? Wow. Okay, so what is this? Is this just does this happen on anything? Like on every
This
rune?
happens on everyone, yeah.
What happened to the
So
ones that I had? Holy shnikes, I gotta check those. Okay.
it does it automatically if your pages were
If you
already
do
created.
okay, alright. Gosh, my goodness. Okay, so what am I going here then as Jinx?
You can just go attack
Not
speed
force,
here.
attack speed, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, you
Yeah,
don't need
attack
the
speed. Oh, well, you
Oh,
could
and
go
here
force.
too.
It just gives you AD.
Oh, I
It's
thought
not CD,
oh
right?
yeah, force is CDR. Okay.
It's AD or AP depending on your champ.
Okay.
And then
Would you
these
go
are just
force?
dependent on who you're against.
Gotcha.
I would not run adaptive force twice. So you can run adaptive force once, and then you can
Yeah, because
run
we have that. That's true.
armor.
So here, would you go the health? Is it better to get
So
health?
here I would never run adaptive force at all because
Why
you
is
already
that?
have super aggressive runes. So your
Ah,
runes are really aggressive because you
so
don't
I want
have
to get some
nullifying
defense
orb,
here,
you
is
don't
what
have
you're saying.
resolve. Yeah.
So what about 5 armor and magic resist? Does that kind of keep me balanced?
Yeah, but you can always change it before the game, right? So you're gonna be playing a draft pick,
Yep.
so you know what you're against, and then you can change them
This
accordingly.
is what I think. This is where I have a hard time too. Is like I always am really like it takes me so long to pick the runs, and I guess that's why I have a hard time changing them. Right? Like when people are like, especially remember the old system when it was like the what was it? The whole freaking mash runes and masteries, and like people would just change them on the
Yeah.
fly. I'm like, what the heck? Like they'd have one page. I had like the maximum amount of pages because I would just straight up pick the page of the champ that I was playing. That was it. Never looked
So
at it.
most pro players, what they do is they never have saved rune pages, and before
Yeah.
the game, it takes them like 10 seconds before the game to do both runes and masteries. It's insane.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. I used to watch streams and them do that. Okay, interesting. All right, now let's go to items. Let's create a new item set here. This is for my
You can just call it standard Jinx
marksman.
because
Okay.
it keeps changing.
All right, let's do standard Jinx. Okay. All right, what are we starting here? What
Doran's
happened?
Blade or Doran's Shield. It's dependent on the lanes again. I almost always go Doran's Blade.
Okay. So Doran's Blade. Oops. Can I just do all? Doran's Blade.
And
So
I'll
either
go-
Doran's Blade or
Doran's Shield, depending on your matchup. So since you're doing a standard build, just do
Yeah.
Doran's Blade.
okay. And all right. So now what are we talking about path builds here? What's after the Doran's Blade? What am I trying to save up for? What's a good first buy for me if I am
BF
you know
sword.
BF sword?
or Berserker Greaves for me. I don't know. Dan might do it different.
All
But
right.
for
What do
me,
you
it's always-
do, Dan?
So like if I have like if I have 1300 gold, just get BF sword. But
Okay.
if I have less than that, I'll get like one longsword and like a boots.
Okay. So let's say you had 1100
I do
gold.
call sometimes as well.
Sometimes
Call?
call. When
I do
would you
call.
do call? When would you do call? What's the situation you would do call in?
Okay, so basically, if you have like a 2v2 early and say
Yeah.
you get a kill or two, you'll usually back with around 700 to 800 gold. Or if you get one kill or say you get killed, if you get killed early, you should have like between 300 to 500 gold.
Yeah.
So if you only have like 500 gold, I would go call potion or call control ward.
Okay.
And then if I have more, I would just go double. So if I have 700 to 800, I would go one longsword and call.
Okay. Nice.
But
Okay.
I would
So
only do this on Jing.
but let's say you backed with 1100 gold. Would you buy the Berserker Greaves or would you buy a sword and boots and
I would buy boots. I would just buy Berserker Greaves. I really,
You would just-
I don't know if other people do it, but sometimes I just rush Berserker Greaves even if I have 1300.
you just like the attack speed?
No, I like the movement speed.
Ah. Okay. And it
The
gives you a
attack
little
speed
bit
is
of
just
both.
like a bonus. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay,
I
now
know
let's
into Draven, I always rush Ninja Tabby.
Really
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
Wait, as a first item? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know not many
interesting.
people do it. There's a video on YouTube of Tyler One being Draven, and Navaris comes back with Ninja Tabby, and he just can kill him.
Yeah.
And after that, ever since I watched that, I was like, you have to build Ninja Tabby first.
Oh man, that's awesome.
And this was so basically most of my Jinx games were when Ninja Tabby was OP. I think it gave you like 20 armor. It reduced your every auto by 20%.
That's awesome.
It was OP.
All right, so Dan, okay, so now we got I think these are pretty cool. We got Berserker Greaves and we got BF Sword. What's my first item that I'm aiming for here? Dan, what do you usually do as your first item?
My first item, like almost every time, Storm Razor.
Storm
Storm
Razor,
I
okay.
agree with that.
You agree with that? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Storm Razor.
Storm Razor.
With the IE changes, I don't rush IE.
You can't rush
Okay.
IE because it gives you nothing, right?
Yeah, it gives you
Unless you
nothing.
have
Cause
crit.
like, unless you have crit, yeah.
Okay, so that's BF
Wait,
Sword.
put that
So,
underneath.
I see. Put it here.
Put the Storm Razor underneath, right?
Is that right here?
And then you-
Yeah. Does that look good?
yeah.
I put it here. Okay. Storm Razor, and then what's my second item I'm looking for?
So the second item, I would alternate between the two. So it would be your zeal item, right? It would be either rapid fire cannon, or what's it called? Runan
Runa.
Hurricane. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get
Okay.
rapid fire cannon if they don't have any tanks. Like
Okay.
if they have no front line, and then I get like RFC if I want to like play safe backline, just like poke
Okay.
them out or like the RFC range.
And
I
so
always do Runans, I
Oh,
think.
you
you always do
So I think
Runans first?
most I think what is it? If they have like hard, so basically I get 2 attack speed item by the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Runans first, and then um, what's it called? Either Phantom Dancer or Rapid Fire Cannon. So if they have
Mm.
like all in, then I'll do then I'll do Phantom Dancer. If they don't, then I'll do Rapid Fire Cannon. I know a lot of
Okay.
people do Rapid Fire Cannon though.
So tell me why. So okay, so I'm one of these people that all I know, here's my extent of these items. They give me attack speed, right? What is why pick
Okay.
what in certain situations, or so
So
what's
I
rapid
do
fire cannon do?
Runans.
Yeah, why
Runans is
Runans?
just personal preference for me.
Uh-huh.
It's because you do more damage to the whole team.
Okay, because you're spreading your damage out, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rapid fire is good for like single target. It increases your like single target damage significantly.
Yeah. Rapid, you said is.
That's the one that increases your single target significantly.
Okay. And then Phantom
So,
Dancer.
so basically, you have more damage on one person with rapid fire cannon,
Okay.
and Runans is less damage but on more people.
Okay. So I can see why you said that's your
So rapid
preference.
fire helps with like 1v1s. It's really good for
Yep.
1v1s. Really
Yep,
good for
yep.
solo queue.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay, and then why Phantom Dancer sometimes?
Okay, so Phantom Dancer, I like it if people are jumping on me because of the passive. I think you can read
The
it,
movement
right?
speed. Yep. Spectral walls.
Not the movement speed. The
Okay.
deals whoever you hit, they do
Uh-huh.
12% less damage to you.
Oh, okay. So that helps for people. That makes sense. Okay.
Especially against
Nice.
Rengar. I hate playing against Rengar. Rengar,
Okay.
Kha'Zix, all these assassins.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. All right, that makes sense. That's good to know. Now, what about like, I know before my limited ADC experience, I would sometimes build like what is it, the armor penetration stuff like for tanks. Is
Okay,
that
so
still a thing?
you need the first 3 items. I don't know if Dan does it differently, but I do Storm Razor, attack speed item, IE.
Yeah, I do that too. I'll,
Yeah,
like,
I think it's
hang
pretty
out.
standard.
Say that one more
like,
time.
full AD carries.
Storm Razor, what?
Storm
Storm
Razor,
Razor.
then attack speed item, whatever you
Okay,
want,
one of these.
and then IE.
IE. So IE is still definitely important.
But if they have like a lot of AP damage, I get Hex Drinker before IE.
Oops. If they have a lot of AP, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so it's one of these 3 items. So I would get Storm Razor, one of these 3 items, IE, and then what am I looking at next?
It depends. If they have tanks, then that's when you look for armor penetration. If they've got like Leona, Thresh, Morgana, like CC supports,
Yep.
like CC skill shot supports, or just like point and click CC, then I would get that. But it
So you
doesn't
said
work
I
on
should
stuff
probably
like
put Hex Drinker here as kind of like an
Hex Drinker is
optional.
good against AP assassins. Akali.
Okay.
Akali is definitely one of them.
Okay.
It's champions where you can't dodge their AP damage, right? Vladimir, Fizz.
Okay.
This is when I'd get Hex Drinker. If they have
Hex
lots of
Drinker.
CC, then I'd get QSS into
QSS.
Merc Sim.
That's my downfall right there, because that's another button I have to press, and so
Well, I mean, you play support, right? So it's easier.
And this is why I had a hard time. I still have a hard time using redemption. That's why I always forget the
It's a lot
Zanyas.
easier, right?
This is why I
Because
always forget.
you only have to press one. Active.
Yes, exactly. But
Before you have
that's
to-
why though, like, sometimes, with like when you get Bork on something and then Bork and then you have QSS and then you have all these other things, I'm like, oh my gosh. But now I got Locket, Redemption, who knows what else I'm pressing. And then I forget to, whatever. Okay, so what about, remember I was talking about armor pen. Is that still a thing that you guys do?
Yeah,
Like,
so basically there's like 2. You can get Mortal Reminder or you can get Lord Dominic's.
Okay.
If they have lots of healing, then you go Mortal Reminder. So like Vladimir, Soraka, Alawi,
Okay.
Red Cane.
I gotcha. Okay, so for healing, a lot of healers or a lot of healing players get Mortal. For just straight up Armor Shred, Lord Dominic's.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Did I miss anything here, Dan? Do you have anything that is missing from here?
I agree with what Josh said, like
Okay.
100%. Except for like I will also like add GA into that just in case, like
Oh
if
yeah,
you want.
GA
Yeah.
is if they have a lot of AD assassins. I know Zed
Okay.
is definitely one of them. Zed, Talon.
Okay. Here's a question to ask too. Yeah, I need to add regular pots. You're gonna want both. Okay, good idea. So here's the thing too. Is like sometimes what I also have trouble with is when do I like sometimes. Okay, obviously this is my ideal build path, but let's say I'm getting behind a little bit. Should I go at that point defensively first and delay some of these items, or should I just be like, nope? Because once I get these items, I'm gonna be super strong, like especially as Jinx. Like do you still prioritize like getting your items finished, or like is there ever a point where you're like, you know what, I need to just start building defensively real quick?
Okay, so for me, I would just like if I was like even or okay, are you talking like behind or like just
Yeah, let's say behind like you've gotten ganked a few times, maybe you're 0-2 in lane, they're up 20 farm or so on you. Maybe they even take your turret. Now you're just trying to catch up and farm. You're also
so
again.
okay. So I'll just like get Storm Razor and to get the Zeal item, and then maybe I would get QSS if they have like what um Josh was saying. If they
Okay.
had like a lot of like CC, or I
Yep.
would just like rush a GA if they're like AD heavy, and then like if yeah, and I would like
Okay.
just stall out my IE for later on.
Okay. So IE is the thing, but you almost always are rushing Storm Razor no matter what.
Um, so the first three items that you really want to rush it was like the Storm Razor, the Zeal item, and then the and IE.
Storm Razor, okay, Zeal item, and then IE, okay.
Yeah, that's the
But
like the
if you have to, then you'll postpone IE or something and get something defensive.
yeah.
Okay. What about you, Josh? What do you do in a situation like that? Did we lose him? Still there, Josh? Joshy. All right, we may have lost our friend who's in we may have lost our friend over in the UK. But that's all right.
Hello?
Well,
Can you hear me?
Elixir, there you are. What happened to you, man?
I don't know. I think
Elixir.
my Discord just crashed.
Okay, well there he is. Elixir of Strength. Okay.
I think if I'm behind, it depends if my team is behind or if just I'm behind. If it's just me that's behind, I wouldn't change anything.
Okay, I gotcha. But if your team is behind, then you probably would.
It depends, yeah. So
Okay.
if they had like a really strong Akali or really strong Vlad, I would get Hex Drinker after my attack speed item.
Okay. Nice.
Or GA. I wouldn't get QSS because I don't think many times, unless it's like point and click CC, like Lissandra, something like that.
Oh yeah.
Then I would definitely go QSS,
Okay.
Malzahar, Warwick, all of those.
Okay.
Otherwise, I would just go normal 3 items and then QSS.
All right. Hey, did anybody, if you guys want to, why don't you guys, if you have any questions about Jinx or anything, you can go ahead and start putting those in here now. And while we have them here, we'll see if we can get some of those answered. But I think, is there any like tips or tricks or things that maybe people who don't know much about the champion, that there's things that they could do? Oh, Cheerio says favorite Jinx skin too. So yeah, answer those. Good questions. All right, so you guys can see this as well.
Yeah, I have it open.
So start thinking about the tips and tricks, guys. But let's get to some of these questions. So Cheerio says favorite Jinx skin.
You want to do
What's your favorite
tips and
Jinx
tricks
skin
first or skins first?
Let's do tips and tricks first, so that way I can compile some of these questions.
Okay.
Give me some
So
tips and
I
tricks.
think one of like something that people don't get is like how to use traps. So basically, your traps stop all kind of dashes. Like if Jax is jumping on you and you use trap at the right time, it stops his jump. Same with Kha'Zix, same with Tristana. So all those jumps get stopped in midair.
Okay.
Same with Caitlyn. I think like that's one of like the underrated things, and that
Hmm.
only changed like this season. No, last season.
Yeah.
I think it was this
Okay.
season or last season.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's really good against Kha'Zix because Kha'Zix can literally just one shot you as soon as he jumps you.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so if you know somebody like or a Rengar or something's about to jump on you, where do you place the trap? On top of yourself, or just in between you
But
and
the
the
problem
champ?
with Rengar is he has his W to cleanse it off, so
Oh,
it's not
okay,
always
gotcha.
as easy.
Okay, okay,
Jumping from the bush it works, but
okay,
jumping from his ult does not.
okay. Um, any other tricks or tips or anything like that, Josh, that you had?
I know when I'm behind, I always look for ult opportunities because I almost
Uh-huh.
never use ult in lane because it's just
Yeah.
so slow. So I don't know if you know this, but like most Jinx players do. So the lower your health is, the more damage it does because it's an execute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's pretty.
What about you?
So
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
so basically, the further it travels, the more damage it does as well.
Jeez. Okay. So you want to hit them long range snipes.
Yeah. So if they're right in front of you, I think.
That,
So
I've done
basically-
that before. I have done that before where they're like right in front of me. Oh, I'm ult them, and I'm like,
Never
wait a
do that
minute.
on Jinx because I think the base damage is actually terrible. It's like 25 damage.
That is
on your
funny.
rocket.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good thing to note. That's more of a panic ult for me. Like
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Dan? Did you have any tips or tricks that Josh may not have mentioned, or anything that you got there to share your secrets?
Share my secrets.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like I just play Jinx. Like
Okay.
I don't have any like tips or tricks. Like just
Okay.
yeah.
Tip one, Cheerio says, don't feed. All right, let's answer some questions. We got 3 questions here. First, favorite Jinx skin. Let's start with you, Dan.
My favorite Jinx skin right now is probably the ambitious Elf Jinx, cause like
Okay.
I like the back animation, the train, and everything.
I wish I could look at that. Okay. What about you, Josh? Favorite Jinx skin?
Mine in terms of like auto attack. So basically, I don't really like the auto attack animation on Star Guardian, even though it's like the best skin.
Yeah,
I really
that's a
like
good looking
Mafia.
skin.
Mafia is probably my favorite.
Ooh, Mafia Jinx. That is pretty nice. Let me see if I. Is there a way I can look
But
at
if
the
you do
skins?
have Star Guardian, just one of the really fun things to do is the Control 3 spam.
Really?
Yeah, I love it. That's the only reason I play Star Guardian Jinx. It's a really
That's
good skin
true.
though.
Okay. So Odyssey Jinx, no good. Star Guardian is nice. Mafia. Odyssey Jinx, wasn't that the newest one?
Yeah, Odyssey's okay. I don't really like
okay.
the auto attack sounds.
Okay. All right. Oh, Slayer Jinx, Cheerio says. Okay, next question. When Falcor asks when to swap your Q, which I think is good, because obviously the 2 Qs do different things. You got the rockets, they're slower, but they're more damage. They have splash damage, longer range, whereas the minigun is quicker, but it's shorter range, that sort of thing. What do you guys do in that situation, or has it become almost instinctive? Thoughts on that? Let's start with you, Josh. Swap to Q.
So I use minigun when for CSing because each
Okay.
auto attack costs mana, right? When
Mhm.
you're in rocket. So if they're next to you, you get higher attack speed. So if you're against one person, obviously you use a minigun. Later on, you'll almost always use
Rockets.
rockets.
Like what
unless
is
you're
later
doing
on? Are you
objective.
usually like saying like when you have an item, certain item, or is it just like general late game, like after a certain
It's when
time?
you start grouping for fights.
Okay.
Whenever it is, you start grouping for fights. It's different in every game.
Okay. Do you ever use it to wave clear, like if you need to push a lane?
Yeah,
Okay.
when you hard shove, you can also use
Okay.
it to poke the enemy laner
Okay.
because
Yeah, but
Jinx
I
is,
think early on
minigun.
though, it definitely can suck up your mana if you're using it a lot, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah,
Okay.
and you're not gonna be able to what is it? A mana item on Jinx. It's really bad.
Yeah. Okay.
I used
All
to
right.
do Essence Reaver with old Jinx, old
Yeah.
Essence Reaver, but now it's really bad. Back when it gave you crit and mana per auto,
Wow.
but now
That's
it's like you get refund on your abilities and you never use your abilities.
oh gosh. Okay. What about you, Dan? Do you have anything to add to that with as far as swapping Q?
Yeah. So swapping Q. In team fights,
Mm-hmm.
like if you want to like just poke them out, just use your rocket form.
Okay.
Yeah. And then if they're like really like up front with you, like very
Uh.
close to you, you just use your minigun just to kite away with your along with your chompers.
Okay.
So like yeah, that's about it.
Minigun with chompers. All
Yeah.
right. Well, we're gonna see if all of this head knowledge translates into something in the game. One more. Is there any specific combo that you use with Jinx? Like, I guess if you have a CC support, if they knock them in a CC, I'm assuming you would want to. Do you put your traps down first, or do you try to W them first for the slow, then put your traps, or and
As for
and then so what do you do? Go ahead.
as for combos, I don't think there's like that many. There's not like it's not really combos for Jinx.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's because it's
No,
like more
it
right click.
isn't.
Like
It's basically how you use your Q is basically your combo.
Okay. If I'm chasing somebody down and I'm hitting them with Qs, is there ever a point when, as I'm chasing them, I should switch to minigun to get more attack speed? No.
Yeah. So basically,
Okay.
you need to know what your range is around. So if you're
Because
chasing someone and you know you can hit 'em,
doesn't it also take some time to ramp up the minigun Q attack speed,
no, it's like
or
it's a
it's pretty
toggle,
quick?
so
Okay, it's a
it's pretty
toggle.
quick. I think the
Okay.
cooldown is like 0.4 seconds or something.
Okay. Go ahead, Mongolian. Put it in the chat, my friend. Okay, that was the only questions we had, and I think now it's time to get in a queue.